Hello and welcome to AntKast. I'm your special host for this episode, Andy Mock. I provide insight on global technology trends. I'm also a former VC investor and currently advise investment funds and entrepreneurs on growth opportunities in Asia. Joining me today is a very special guest from Ant Group, the Executive Vice President of Ant Group's Strategic Development and Government Affairs in GBA, Jennifer Tan. In this episode, we will reveal why some of the most important fintech developments in the world are being unveiled in Asia, and why Hong Kong is ground zero for these developments, and what this means for your future. Jennifer, I'd like to start with this term GBA. What is GBA, and why should we care?
Thank you. First, Andy, good morning. As said that, since we have so many commonalities, I was, born in Hong Kong, raised in Hong Kong, and actually, get married and also working and then in Hong Kong. So, we all understand now GBA is a buzzword, okay? I always kidding with my friends, say, now if we, go to those forum, all the forum, they either have sustainability or they have GBA. Otherwise, you cannot attract, the audience. GBA actually stands for Greater Bay Area, which is actually talking about Hong Kong and Macau together with another 9 cities, mainly, in Guangdong provinces. And what is the beauty or what is the special of GBA? It's talking about a huge population. You all know, Hong Kong, we are talking about like 7 million population, but GBA altogether is talking about close to 80 million population in this region. And so first thing, especially we are businessmen, we have this accounting, we are first thing about, okay, that means in terms of business size, you're talking about like 10 times, okay, 10 times more than, what you have in Hong Kong. And also another thing is that GBA actually is also, I would say a growth engine, for China in the coming, probably 10 years or even more. The reason is because you see a lot of, technology giants, in GBA, say for example, like in Shenzhen, you got a lot of the big names and you also got a lot of, talents from, everywhere, from mainland or overseas, they work in, Shenzhen or in Hong Kong, all these places. And second thing is that in GBA, you have not only talent, not only the industry, you also have a lot of this, I would say, supportings. Say, for example, you got a lot of universities. Okay, we got many universities here. We also got a very big, ecosystems of manufacturing. So it seems GBA, although I don't want to say it is like self-contained, but I would say it is actually got a lot of strengths because these 11 cities, they all have their strengths. Okay, like Hong Kong is an international financial center. We got and we also got a very well-known capital market. And in Macau, everyone think about, okay, the casino, the entertainment business, and in Zhuhai or Zhongshan, everyone have their own characteristic. So you just imagine by consolidating, combining all these interesting elements together, you can already feel the energy. You already feel, a lot of driving factors. So this is, what I consider GBA is very important in the coming years.
You're absolutely right, Jennifer. Thank you for providing that background. And one other important piece of information I think our audience will find interesting is that the Greater Bay Area, or GBA, is also named as a reference to the Bay Area in the United States, of course, which was the cradle of American technology and, of course, a lot of global giants. So we can see the aspirations and through that just how vital and how important the GBA is. So moving along, Jennifer, I know that when we were talking about some of these topics before, one thing that came up is that we live in Asia. We live in Hong Kong. I'm in Beijing. We know a lot about this region for the people that are listening around the world that might not have had the opportunity yet to come to Asia. There's a lot of misperceptions. They may think that Asia's backwards, it's all the same. But in fact, it's enormous and it's diverse. From the advanced, mature economies of Japan to South Korea, to the oil rich country of Brunei. Of course, we have Thailand, Indonesia, very rapidly growing Southeast Asian countries, and of course, China as well. What do you think are some of the most important misunderstandings or myths about China that you've noticed?
I think, Andy already rightly point out. I think a lot of people still have to say, especially talking about Asia or China, they still have the impression back to maybe 60s, 70s. Okay, Asia is a much more, lag behind as compared to the West. They are much more poor, or in terms of economies, and a lot of these are they are still developing countries, and they may focus on a lot of manufacturing, which is very labor intensive, and also very important is they think about the Asian are much more conservative. Okay, seems that we are very careful, so not as ambitious or as aggressive as compared to the Western people, but actually, both you and I, as we spend most of our time in Asia, definitely we understand that's not the truth. Okay, the reality is that Asia, we know that we actually say for example like in China, you find that in China when you go there, I would not say now it's cash, but it's almost a cashless a country. Okay, in China, a lot of things already, a lot of those I would say labor intense were already replaced, especially in service industry, already replaced by technology. So I still recall that back in 2014, 2015, when I was in China, and of course we usually as a tourist, we always got a lot of this renminbi. Okay, but you find that they will ask you, okay, whether you have 支付宝, okay, whether you have a e-wallet, because and they always give you a QR code for you to scan. At that time, it's pretty new to us, and actually pretty shocked to me, because we always think that, oh, okay, China's a little bit lag behind in terms of technology, but actually it's not the truth. If we know that they are actually very fast, they leap forward very fast, and also the people they very get used to learn new things, to acquire new things. And not even for China, I think talking about say like mobile penetration. Actually, mobile penetration in Asia is pretty high. Okay, according to the GSM report, I recall that as of 2021, actually in Asia, the mobile internet connectivity already account for like over 40% of the population, which if you compare with other places, actually is definitely at I say a pretty high ratio. And so you will see we got a lot of this not only just e-wallets, but a lot of financial services, or even as I mentioned the service industry. They all face a new era. Okay, they are actually more the Asian, actually I would say they are more willing, or they are actually have the brave to use technology to to make their life simpler, to bring in more convenience to their everyday life. So I'm always welcome if we got a lot of visitors from other worlds to visit Asia. I think just be open-minded. I think you will get be amazed about what happened in this region.
No, I think those are such excellent points, Jennifer. I'd especially like to highlight 2 points that you made, that Asians or the Asian region really doesn't innovate, and related to that, that it's very conservative. And I think as we've seen, as you touched on, especially in the mobile space, in the fintech space, some of the fastest and the broadest innovation really has happened in the Asia Pacific region. What about sustainability? Because I know also that also it may be a misperception that people don't really know what's going on with sustainability in Asia. What are your thoughts about that?
Of course, carbon neutrality sounds a big topic, but other than that, I think in our daily life we know about, okay, we need to try to have a paperless environment. We try to say, for example, we use a lot of this technology. We pay the utility bills, and no need to get the physical bills. Okay, and also we actually do a lot of say like online shopping, all those things, all to save this carbon print. And most important is that I also have seen that a lot of corporations, they also take these initiatives. Say for example, like Ant Group, probably we all heard about this Ant Forest. But what does Ant Forest means? That actually we encourage our user, by using this e-wallet services, they actually save this carbon print, and by doing that we give them some credit. And once they accumulate those credit, they can choose to plant a tree. And you can imagine after so many years, we already got about, if my memory correct, is over 300 million or 360 million trees, okay, already been planted. So you can see that, corporate, they take an initiative, but actually the general public also, they alert to this. So they very, they actually react very seriously. And so you can have, something like Ant Forest. And I understand this is not the only thing. Actually in other countries, like in Philippines, they have similar concept, and also it is very well received, by the consumers. So I think sustainability in Asia is not just a buzzword. Really, we have seen a lot of things happen in this region, and I even heard some young younger generation, they're talking about that, okay, when they choose a product, okay, when they choose a product from companies, they are not only talking about pricing, they are not only talking about the quality of the product, they also would like to know about whether the company, when they create this product, will have they also include this sustainability in that. They're very important. They don't mind to pay a bit more if they use recycled materials. So I think this is very important, and this phenomenon, I think it will continue in this region.
No, I think those are great examples, Jennifer, and completely echoes what I've seen not only in China, but my travels around the region as well. That on the ground, sustainability, sophisticated, socially aware consumers is one reality. The other reality is that it really is a hotbed of innovation, whether we're looking at China, whether we're looking at Indonesia, other parts of the Asia region, that there's innovation happening in e-commerce, in fintech, in super apps, et cetera. And I think that's tremendously exciting. So I focus not only on technology, but also geopolitical developments as well. So 2022 has been a really milestone year, in my view, because it marks the beginning, the formal launch of RCEP, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, that brings together the countries of Asia, which is about a third of the world's population and currently about a third of GDP. And when we link that with the region's diversity, again, from Japan, South Korea, which is a global cultural superpower, to the rapidly growing economies of Southeast Asia. Of course, we have a very, very advanced logistics financial center in Singapore, as we do in Hong Kong, that this integration of this region is one of the very important developments and trends that we need to keep an eye on in the years to come. So I know your job, Jennifer, as CEO, you also need to pay attention to some of the trends that are happening. What are some of the more interesting and noteworthy macro trends in Asia that you're witnessing?
First, I think it is the mobile first. Okay, the smartphone penetration in Asia actually is pretty high. As I mentioned, the mobile internet connectivity, is talking about over 40%. Okay, in Asia, and for mobile first, I think definitely that will be a major driver because for business, you need to think about how to serve your user, especially if you still not yet have a mobile app. This will be very important because we all know that a lot of people, I think on a personal basis, I think everyone spend quite a long time, hours on their phone. So mobile is very important. And second reason is because with this popularity of 5G, we know in Asia, I recall over 10 countries already have 5G live in their countries, and so with 5G, which allow even higher data transmission, and a lot of the user experience will be even much better, and it will be very important because that means according to GSM Association's prediction, they expect that from now up to 2025, they expect that there will be even more new the first time mobile user. They estimate about like 330 million, and you find out this is a huge number. Actually, if you know about how many first time mobile user back in 2020 and 2021, that's over 130 million. So if we're talking about another 3 years to have about like 330 million, it is, I think, quite a reasonable estimate. And you can imagine every year you got many, first-time mobile user. That means the mobile internet connectivity will keep increasing. And this is the first one. And second thing is the younger generation. Interestingly, I look at the population. We all know Asian have a huge population. We actually have about like 4.7 billion in Asia, and which already account for 60% of the world's population. And in terms of young population, actually, I understand that the young populations account for about like a quarter in our Asian population, but that also account for about like 60%. And when I say young population, I'm talking about those from 15 to 24. So you can see this is a very big, a very powerful base to grow. And we all know that for younger generation, they will have different lifestyle. Okay, they have different spending behavior, and you can think about that. For us, probably we may still do some offline shopping, but for the younger generation, when they're born, they already get used to have a mobile phone. They already get used to all these virtual thing, virtual shopping. They have play a lot of games, the gamification. So it's very different, very different from that. And so as a service provider or a corporation, you need to understand very carefully. You need to study in detail what are the behavior or the preference of this younger generation, and that will make a lot of changes. And of course, another thing talking about, as you also mentioned, is this regional integration, which is very important. I think because nowadays, even in Hong Kong, we're talking about GBA, Greater Bay Area. What do we mean GBA? Although this is talking about 11 cities, but according to because with this robust rail system, we're just talking about by around 1 hour, we can reach all these, 11 cities easily. 1 hour actually is just 60 minutes. So same apply in Asia. You're just thinking of Southeast Asia like Singapore, Malaysia, Thai, or Indonesia. Actually, a lot of interaction. Okay, so the regional integration is very important. So a lot of services, you need to make sure your user, when they say, for example, in our wallet business, I need to make sure my user, they are not only use my wallet in Hong Kong, they can use my wallet in elsewhere. Okay, when they're traveling on business trip or for leisure. So this is I think these are the major trends in the coming few years in Asia.
No, those are great points, Jennifer. And I think what particularly struck me about what you said about the younger population in Asia being mobile first in a tremendously diverse region with different languages, of course, different currencies, different customs, that the ability to meet their needs online, but also from a financial services perspective as well. And that we're seeing this convergence between digital inclusion and financial inclusion, meaning that more and more people are going online mobile first, but they're also consuming or being delivered a variety of financial services through a digital application as well. So these two trends are converging. And that makes me think, again, having roots in Hong Kong, having lived and worked there, that I've seen firsthand, as you're seeing every day, that in Hong Kong, the telecommunications infrastructure is world class. Consumers are sophisticated, demanding, socially aware, quick to adopt new things. And also, from an ant perspective, that this was one of the early successes for digital payment in Hong Kong. So, what can we learn from that, Jennifer, from your experience with the success of digital payment in Hong Kong? And why do you think cashless is the future?
We are not the only e-wallet service provider in Hong Kong. But why we can capture the market so quickly? One thing very important is localization. Localization is important. Why? Because although Alipay's been very successful in China. Okay, we know that is a leading operator. They have very good experience, but we cannot just copy what are the successful stories for Alipay and then bring to Hong Kong, because even we talking about we are okay, we may are all Chinese, it seems we have a pretty similar lifestyle, but actually all the people, you understand, they have their own culture, they have their own custom, they have their own different preference. Say for example, if you compare the design, even the user interface, the Alipay, in China, the app, you will find a lot of those the payment button, they are on the top. Okay, but in Hong Kong, we are put it on the bottom. The reason is because in Hong Kong, people get used to use their thumb for input. So we need to change something like that. And also say for example in Hong Kong, we don't like too many icons on one page. So we simplify that. Just make it okay based on your preference. The most frequently used will be on the first page, and then the other will move to the second page. Because with all this localization, actually we find that we attract our user very quickly. So it is localization, as I emphasized, is very important. And also even when we're talking about the services. Say for example, one of our very well received feature is e-stamp. If you've been in Hong Kong, then you know about. Usually when you go to different shop, they always give you a lot of e-stamp or e-coupons. But the problem is that you don't know how to collect those things. And then when you want to use it, you always forget where you put it. Okay. Or when you take it out, you find it's already expired. Now in China, they don't have that. They don't have that concept. Okay. China, we know that they are very popular for the red packet. Okay. Hongbao, red packet. But in Hong Kong, we will only dispatch red packets during this Chinese the Chinese festival. Okay. The Chinese New Year, we will do that. But normal time, we are not, unlike in China, they always like to dispatch this red packet. But in Hong Kong, interestingly, people like to collect e-stamps. And this become, I would say, one of our killing app, one of our killing feature, as I say, one of our killing feature, because people actually like to collect that, and they really find it is very good. And we are the first one roll these services, very popular and well received by our user. And some of our competitor actually follow our step.
No, that's great. So certainly localization is important, and in particular, understanding user psychology, user customs, like you said, where to put buttons, which might sound trivial, but actually is really, really important to reducing friction, driving adoption. So I think it's easy to see through your anecdotes, and I think very good advice on how to build a successful product, how you succeeded in Hong Kong. Well, let's draw back the aperture and look at Asia. How is Alipay Plus bringing greater financial connectivity to users across the region?
As mentioned, that regional integration is very important, getting more and more important, because you can imagine that, okay, we all have successful wallet in our own place, but our user will not only be just get satisfied with that. As we mentioned, the mobility, people would like to enjoy a service which not only used in their hometown, but they can use elsewhere. So this is one of the driving factor why we've considered to have this Alipay Plus, because you imagine probably Andy, you also travel a lot. You always need to make sure, okay, you got sufficient local currency, okay, just to make sure that you can spend easily. But once if you have a e-wallet, say for example, when I spend my vacation in Japan, I can easily use my Alipay Hong Kong and then enjoy the payment services there. And no need for me to just buy a bottle of water, and then I got a lot of all these coins, and which I don't know how to use, and usually I just donate that on the return flight. So now with this e-wallet is easier for me, and so it not only solve the payments, not only solve my payment issue, but also the forex issue. So I can very easily just get using same just Hong Kong functional currency, but actually they have the functionality that I can settle local currency in other places. And this is from the wallet users perspective. But you just imagine from the merchant as well. For merchant, currently maybe they only serve the customer. Their customer is majority will be the local people. And say for example, when there's visitor come, you just imagine for the merchant, okay, they may not have the foreign currency, so they cannot settle. And if the visitor don't have enough local currency, then they cannot do the business. But nowadays, same, because once they are joining this Alipay Plus platform, they can also easily just accept this visitors payment. The reason is because same, the FX solution we provide to them, because no matter what kind of currency they pay, whether it's Japanese yen or Singapore dollars, it will just convert into the local currency, Hong Kong dollar, easy for them to do it. And another thing, another beauty is for merchants is that we are not only offer them the payment solution, we actually also offer them a marketing solution. So you just imagine, although it's 2 years ago, when I travel to Japan, when I land, and then I just use my wallet, and then I just see, okay, what is there any EQ points or special offers from the local merchants, and then I find that, oh, okay, Lawson, I got a maybe 10% discount, okay, if I buy a bottle of water there. So this is although it may be just a small a gift, but actually the point is that you feel it's quite homely. Okay, even I'm not in Hong Kong, I'm in Japan, I still can enjoy the same privilege as what I can in Hong Kong. And thirdly is actually from the perspective of wallet operator. Imagine we actually need to support the local business already. Already we need to spend a lot of our management effort. And comparing the old days, if we want to roll out to an international basis, that means I need to talk to each parties, the counterparties in different countries. And you can imagine how much time I need to invest, how much money I need to invest. But now just by joining Alipay Plus, this common platform, we just talking about once I connect, then you connect to all system, then you connect to all wallet counterparties. So it is also a beauty that instead of we are a local wallet service provider, once connect with Alipay Plus, I become a global wallet service provider. And so that's the beauty with the Alipay Plus.
No, and clearly, I think Alipay Plus has enjoyed tremendous success in a very short time. I think for the reasons you just shared, that there's a lot going on behind the scenes. So most of us are consumers, and we can see the convenience of Alipay Plus, but may not realize that behind that, there's a lot of work that goes into dealing with the local wallet, digital wallets, merchants, etc. So thanks for taking us behind the curtain, as it were. And we know that the Asia region is one of the most, if not the most dynamic places in the world, again, because of the number of people, but also the growth rates and the speed with which change is happening. So if we look, or you look, out 5, 10 years from now, what are some of the important trends you see? And perhaps most importantly, what do you see as some of the biggest opportunities for innovation in Asia?
As I think you rightly point earlier, is that this convergence of digital inclusion and financial inclusion. I think that will be a very important trend. As mentioned, that because of this, the younger generation, and you just imagine when all this, we're now talking about Gen Z, but later we don't, they are very different. They are very different. In terms not only of that, the spending behavior, but I think they are also affecting our working environment. We recently I just talked with some friends, okay, whether we still need an office, especially now because of the pandemic, we know we all get used with this work from home, and some company, I understand, they already think about that. Okay, probably even when back to normal, they will not compulsory ask their staff that you must work work in the office. They are thinking about much more flexi working environment. And I think this will actually change a lot, because you just imagine the way how you interact with your colleagues. It will be very different. And you can also imagine, because of all this, the workflow, and also even the customer, the need of the general user can be very different. This is one thing. And second, as I also mentioned, is about this regional integration. Because with the regional integration, what we need in terms of service, what we need is not only limited to local. We will need more regional services. Say when you get a service product, you will think, okay, is it only used in Hong Kong? Can I use in the Greater Bay Area? Or okay, can I use in Asia? Or can I use in the world? Okay, so what I would see the competition will be intensified, because in the old days we always think about, okay, some service very limited to local, some services is on a more global basis. But I think in future it will not. Actually, a lot of things we're talking about, even we're not talking about global basis, at least it will be regional. So you can see competition. You are not only just look at your space here. You have a much bigger space to compete, and so the competitive landscape will be very different. And in terms of I will also think about, because of the sustainability. So I'm happy to see more innovation in that area, and I believe a lot of interesting features and product will along that line to come out. And so this is my focus. As I mentioned, that I'm not technical people. I never I don't know about all this blockchain, all this AI, all these things. But what important to me as a user, I'm most important is that, okay, whether those are good features, which can I have a very good user experience. That's important. But I believe with more and more because the technologies get mature, and also very important is now the user is much more vocal. Now user is much more vocal, and they all look for personalized product. And with this technology, I believe to provide personalized product is much easier. And and also that's one point I forget is I expect a lot of these features and product, they actually will encourage interaction of user. What I mean is that, okay, they maybe have a, they have a basic infrastructure platform, but it will be the user. Say, for example, I have my own preference. I can choose my own preference, and then it become my own product. I believe a lot of this, will this kind of services or innovative features will actually become more and more, just common in near future.
The last thing I want to ask you, Jennifer, is you also talked about the importance of continuous learning. So, of course, that involves talking to people, but it also involves reading. What are some books that you've read that you thought were valuable or maybe just fun or enjoyable?
Actually, I read quite a lot of books, and a lot of them are ebooks. As say that, I'm interestingly, I'm quite a self-learning person. Okay, I enjoy, reading. Recently, I'm reading, Daniel Silvia's, The Order, but not yet complete. Still, just start the first 50 pages. Daniel Silver is, is an author, which I think I've already read more than a dozen of his books. It's it's nothing, just talking a spy, something like that. When reading, as I say, I enjoy reading something. I have read some, I would say, functional books. Okay, something, which maybe can just improve my soft skills or hard skills. But I'm also like to enjoy reading some books which nothing relate to my business. And also one thing, I also emphasize is that I actually I always told my friend, I enjoy do nothing. Other than
Hmm.
exercise, I enjoy do nothing. Sometimes I think it's good is that every day, or if not every day, say every Sunday, I will have about an hour just at my balcony doing some planning, but just do nothing, or just sitting there, with a cup of tea, just not even thinking. Okay, just sit there. I think it is I enjoy, as you rightly point out, be present. I enjoy the moment. I actually enjoy the
Hmm.
moment of being alone. I'm not sure because I just feel that
Hmm.
okay, you just just offload everything, and then don't think anything, and you just enjoy. Oh, this is me. Okay, I actually quite treasure the lonely time, because I think we are all very busy. We just surrounded by a lot of people, and like me, I'm not only a CEO, a EVP. I'm also a wife, also a mother. So sometimes I treasure, just even an hour a week, just be myself. Okay, do whatever, or I just do nothing, just be lazy. I think it is already, a very good piece of time. Yeah.
Absolutely. So in the US, people might call that puttering, just doing little things without any specific objective, or I believe the Italians would call it the sweet art of doing nothing. So I think sleep is also vastly underrated as an enjoyable hobby. Um, so for me, though, let me share one book because obviously professionally you are very focused on fintech, as am I, but I also intrinsically enjoyed learning about these subjects. Is a book by a man named Richard Turin called Cashless, about China's central bank digital currency, which has been an informative read, but also a fun read as well. So I think we're going to have to end it here. But Jennifer, I know you're super busy. Thank you for taking the time. I certainly enjoyed our conversation today, learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience uh, did as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andy. It's also my pleasure, sharing with you and also talk to the audience. Thank you very much.